CITTIC, and he is a mentor to many young startups here. So that is a background we have, and we have a lot of youngsters from MEC regularly coming to CITTIC, starting their ventures. So I'm so happy that you are organizing this event for the benefit of youngsters who are starting off now. The problem with this online presentation is that I cannot see you. There is no way I can judge you from your facial expressions. I'm sure many of you would have listened to me before. Even that I'm not able to make out. I will not get much of response. It's difficult to interact and get to know, your background and details in such a short span of time. So as I was telling our organizers, I'm keeping it as a kind of a general talk for 30 minutes or so, 30 to 40 minutes. And then if you want any specific queries to be answered, you can put them up in the chat. Or either you can put them as chat, or you can even switch on your microphone and ask me straight. No problem. So without wasting much time, let me move on. Let me just present my slides now. Are the slides visible now? Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Great. All right, fine. Thank you. I mean, I expect one of you to be online, so that in case I have some clarifications, one of the coordinators could be available. Others could be muting their microphone. Okay. So first of all, let me look at this question. A lot of people ask us whenever we talk on startups. A lot of people ask us, is there anything left for startups now? Because the COVID, the pandemic, and you hear a lot of startups closing down, losing revenue, funds not coming, orders being cancelled. So do you think startups still have a future? So I tell them, yes, startups are facing trouble. Startups are finding it difficult with respect to collecting new orders or, getting new funds. But then there are three things that we should keep in mind. One, if startups are finding it difficult with respect to survival, so is the case with their bigger counterparts. They face much bigger trouble because they have a lot more numbers to support. Their operating expenses are much higher than what the startups have. So if startups find the going tough with, let's say, 10-15 people operating from a small place, if they find it difficult, the big companies with thousands of employees operating across the globe, they find it all the more difficult to continue. So startups are many times better off than the big companies when faced with this kind of a crisis. The second issue is we know that we are passing through a very temporary phase. The reversal is inevitable. Anytime the reversal can happen, maybe 1 month, maybe 5 months, maybe 1 year, but the things will have to get back to normal. But as we get back to normal, there are a few things that are going to happen. One, the whole world will be used to a new way of living, both personally and professionally, especially with respect to the economy, with respect to the GDP. We expect a lot more cost-effective solutions to emerge because companies will have very limited budget to spend, and they will be looking for cheaper quality alternatives or value for money alternatives in all aspects. So startups have a huge advantage here, because whenever pressurized to innovate, whenever pressurized to come out with something different, smaller companies, history tells us that smaller companies have always performed better than big companies. Because, for example, even now, if you look at it, there are a lot of funds given to companies who can innovate and come out with the COVID response strategies and products, varying from anything from an N95 mask to sanitizer disposers to UV-based disinfectant systems, etc. And if you find that most of the products, whether you're talking about sanitizer disposer to cheap PCG machines to scanning machines, they are all designed and developed and brought to market by small companies. You don't find any of the big electronic giants coming out with this kind of cost-effective products in such short span of time. For example, we have developed something around 50,000 ventilators in the last 2-3 months, and 80% of them are developed by these kind of small companies in India. And we have a lot of startups working on these kind of very small assignments and able to bring gadgets to the market very fast. So this kind of agility, this kind of quick response time will differentiate startups from big companies. And they will have a lot of opportunities coming in the post-COVID world. So please rest assured, startup will remain a career option, and it should be seriously looked at as a career option, because traditional job offers are going to be less for the next 1 or 2 years. We all know that. We cannot expect very typical 30,000, 40,000 rupee job offered in all engineering college campus. It is not likely to happen. So it is always good that you keep startup as an option as you pass out of your campuses. Now, this is the scenario of startup ecosystem in India when COVID struck us in the beginning of 2020. Last year, we had close to 9,000 plus startups registered in India. That made us the second largest country in the world in terms of number of startups, creating lakhs of jobs and a lot of funding available. I'm not going into the details. Now, before I go further, let me just get it clear. One of the fundamental issues: what exactly is a startup, or what exactly is entrepreneurship, or how are they related, how are they different? Because we know entrepreneurship is a term that we have been talking about for ages. We all know what entrepreneurship is. In India, we have entrepreneurs for the last hundreds of years, right? We all proudly speak about Ambani as an entrepreneur, Tata as an entrepreneur, Birla as an entrepreneur. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in and around us, even small scale entrepreneurs who are running small shops here and there. They are all entrepreneurs. But startup is a term that came up very recently, probably 5 to 10 years. And that is a term that people talk about now. That is the one government is trying to promote. Now, but how is a startup different from entrepreneurship? Or how is a startup guy different from an entrepreneur? For example, suppose, let's say after engineering, suppose three of you come together and suppose you start a restaurant, a good restaurant, let's say in Kalamasheri, let's say 100-seat or 5,000 square feet, well furnished restaurant serving the best of Indian, Chinese, Arabic cuisines, a family restaurant, right? Is that a startup? Because let's say you are investing, let's say 25-30 lakhs furnishing the whole place, and you're starting off. And obviously, a restaurant hospitality is a good business to be in. I mean, hopefully, continue to remain a good business after the pandemic. So, suppose when you're doing that, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it is a startup, or do you think it is not a startup? At least I expect some answers in the chat box. I mean, if you think yes, it is a startup, you can say yes. If you think it's not a startup, a restaurant is not a startup, you can say no, right? Let me see if there are some responses coming. Yes, I find the responses coming. No. Most of the people are saying no. Okay, those who are saying no should also, at least one person just type, why is it not? Why is somebody saying yes also? Why is it no? Those who are saying yes also can, I mean, obviously, yes, they may say that we are starting new, so it is a startup. Those who are saying no, why do you think it's not a new idea? Good. It is not a new idea. Any other reason why it is not a startup, not innovative? Yeah, that is also saying the same thing. It's not innovative. Anything that grows especially comes under startups. So it is not. Okay, good. So okay, I'm happy. Many of you. So that gives me an idea. Many of you have a basic knowledge of what a startup is. True. I will tell you, it is technically it is not a startup. Right? When I say it's not a startup, it doesn't mean it's bad or anything. I'm not trying to say startups are superior to entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurship is not to be looked at all, right? Startups are a very special category of entrepreneurship, which is built around something innovative. But innovation itself is not a simple word, right? That itself is a word on which we can speak for an hour or two. But I will tell you, innovation basically means two things. One, it has to be, as most of you rightly mentioned, it has to be something new. And second, this is something that can be commercialized, right? There is a commercial potential. So when you have these two things coming together, a commercial potential, I mean, something with a commercial potential, but not really tried out before, is innovative. When I say innovative, again, please understand, it doesn't mean that this has to be the first time this is done in the world. That if you look at not even 1% of the startups will be truly innovative, right? How many of them are talking about really breakthrough idea, never tried anywhere before? It's not. They are exceptions. What we normally in management, we call them the breakthrough innovation or radical innovation, disruptive innovations, etc. Like, for example, internet was a disruptive innovation. Nobody thought of that before. Or smartphone or mobile phone is a disruptive innovation. But most of the startups that we talk about today are not disruptively innovative. They are not radically innovative. But they are able to make at least a small innovation on an existing scenario and come out with something different. Or probably, for example, if you look at the e-commerce company, I mean, they did not invent the internet, they did not invent smartphone, they did not invent electronic payment systems, but they were able to bring them together into a system by which customers are able to order, let's say, food online, pay online, and receive them at their home. So that made Uber a Zomato a startup or a Swiggy a startup. Right. So if you are able to make small changes to existing things and to make it more appealing to customer, then you are innovative. The second aspect is that it should be technology driven. Technology driven basically means that it has to be built around technology. Uh, Meaning that, for example, if you're starting a startup, you go to an TBA. CITTIC is a TBA. It is a technology business incubator, a technology driven business. So unless you have a substantial part of your business woven around the latest technology, you may not technically qualify as a startup. The third is, as many of you rightly pointed out, it has to be highly scalable. Scalable basically means that you should be able to make it grow very fast. Correct. I mean, in a restaurant, you always have this problem where you may find that my when I start off, I get an average daily revenue of, let's say, 5,000 rupees. Later, it may go to 10,000 rupees. I may be able to cater 100 people. I may have some parcel. I may have all that together. I may cater to 500 people. That may become 1,000, 5,000 per day maximum. But I can never talk about catering to 1 lakh people or 10 lakh people in a restaurant. Even if I start branches, the numbers are always limited, right? So there is a limit to which you can grow, whereas a startup has actually no such limits. For example, how many people Swiggy can cater every day? There is no limit. 2 years back, it used to be around 1 lakh, and today it stands at around 15 lakhs. So it can, they are targeting something around 25 to 30 lakhs by next year, right? So that is the way people are all looking at. Swiggy thinks that, at least even if you cater to 10% of Indian population, we're talking about 15 crores people serviced by Swiggy. So there is no limit to numbers you can serve. So these are the characteristics that would make your venture a startup. But then entrepreneurs are actually set on a slightly different mode that is called the profit versus value. An entrepreneur is actually betting on the traditional business principles, and the focus is on making profits. And that is very important. Right. For example, like when you start a restaurant, you cannot say that, okay, I'm starting the restaurant now, probably I may make profits after 1 year, 2 years. No, you expect to make profit in the first month itself. Probably 1 or 2 months you may wait, and after 3-4 months, if you still don't make profits, you may close it down. You find a lot of restaurants closing down everywhere. 4 or 5 months, they try everything and they find they're not able to get good customers, they close it up. Startups don't operate that way. Most of the startups are comfortable talking about a profit break-even time of, let's say, 5 years. Like, for example, Swiggy. Latest figures, Swiggy is one of India's biggest startups, but many of you may know the last year Swiggy had a net loss of 2,000 crores, right? So the expenses were 2,000 crores more than the revenue, but still they are surviving. Why? Because that is the way startups operate. They operate on something called value. Value is something, little intangible, more management, like, don't get into the details, but it only means that the value of a company is how much money outside world is willing to give you if you are selling your company today. So if you're selling your company today, how much money others are willing to give you, that is a value. Profit is dependent on how much money you generate after all your expenses from that venture, that is your profit. So entrepreneurs always worry about profit because they have to generate more money than their expenses. Startups normally worry, initial stages especially, they worry more about creating value so that people will come and give the money, they will buy their stake, and they can continue growing for a longer period of time. So that is why, for example, when you talk about Byju's app is India's most valued educational venture startup, valued at something around 10, billion US dollars, which is something around 70,000 crore rupees. Meaning, if somebody has to buy Byju's out fully, they have to shell out 70,000 crore Indian rupees, which is a huge amount. And if you don't understand that, I will tell you one of the biggest banks that you find here, that is Federal Bank. If somebody has to buy out Federal Bank completely, you have to give only 10,000 crore rupees, whereas Baiju will charge you 70,000 crore rupees. So Baiju is 7 times more valuable than Federal Bank, which is, let's say, almost 80-year-old company. So that these are the kind of things that come in. So entrepreneurs, if you're more focused about short-term things, you're more focused about making money on a regular basis, you have a family to take care, it is very important that you generate enough money on a regular basis and continue. You have to be looking at entrepreneurship seriously. Yeah, right. I mean, startup is not necessarily the best thing for you. But if you think that you can play a slightly longer game, right? You think that probably I can survive on a small scale for a year or two. At the same time, I want to build my product. I'm betting more on long term. It is more like a startup. So this is basically the difference between the startup and your entrepreneurship. This is the same thing. Government of India definition, like an incorporated private limited company. Within 10 years, you are making less than 100 crore and working towards innovative products. Now, what makes a startup, successful? Like, as your organizers were telling, how do I get started? Now, so all of you will agree that you start up with an idea, right? All startups, the first thing they do if they want to, start a startup, when they go to an incubator or when they go to a funding agency or they go to mentoring agencies like a Startup Mission or anything, immediately they will be asked to make a presentation on their idea. So they make idea presentation. What actually is a startup idea? There is nothing like a good idea or a bad idea, right? I mean, it can any idea can be good, any idea can be bad, because you have n number of cases documented in history where lot of experts rejected some ideas as bad ideas, but they became very successful later. Like starting from your KFC to IBM to n number of products companies you can find out where people thought idea is not good, but later they became world leaders. Similarly, you will find a lot of products or companies which got a lot of funding from agencies saying that's a great idea, and finally the company could not survive at all. So there is nothing like a good idea or a bad idea. But as an youngster, there are a few things that keep in mind. Now, there are 5 things that together make a good startup. I say your idea, the quality of your team, the business model, funding, and the timing. So let me very quickly go over them. So a lot of people ask this question like, how do I get good ideas? Where do I find good startup ideas? Is it a flash of a genius? Some people think, yes, some people are very good at that. They are able to just sit back, relax, and come out with well-beating ideas. One by one, they just come out with very innovative ideas. May happen as what we call a flash of genius, but happen with less than 1% of the population. 99% of the people who are into startups or entrepreneurship get their ideas the hard way. They systematically search for ideas. They go to different people, they read, they observe, and they get ideas. So what do they observe? What do they find? The basic starting thing is always, interact with a customer, what we call customer pain point. For example, like, suppose you want to get into, let's say, a particular domain. Let's say mechanical engineers, many of you get into agro-automation. Let's say agriculture, many of you may come from that kind of a background. So how do I design some machinery for agriculture that is useful to agriculture or farmers? Like as I said, your first entrepreneur from Cusat, startup from Cusat, Ashwant was working on this, right? That many of you may know. He had designed what they call, an automated plowing machine which can be attached to a tractor, so it will do the digging and preparing the soil the way manual laborers normally do. So suppose you want to get into that, the first thing that you will look at would be read on that. I mean, just read maximum on that. You may look at existing startups. There are very interesting websites. For example, yourstory.com is as a website that features most of the good startups in India. Inc42.com is another website that gives you a lot of startup stories. So you may get inspired by many of these startup ideas that others are pursuing, and you may find some spark there. I mean, very rarely, eureka kind of an idea comes to people. Most of these ideas are inspired by something, like as they say in, Bollywood movies and all, inspired by some Hollywood thriller. There's nothing wrong, but you are able to modify them properly and, adapt to your situation, and that's it. Correct? So you look at what we call the customer pain point, something that customers are not happy, or you as a customer find it difficult. For example, some of your friends in electronics are working on what they call an AR based kiosk for I mean, as a support for branded shoes. Like, for example, you find many times when you order shoes on e-commerce and when you get them, you find that they do not exactly fit your foot. I mean, the size wise, you just looked at the size and ordered it and it doesn't fit. So sometimes if you are able to kind of superimpose your foot image onto the shoe and all that, you will be able to make a better selection. So this is what we call a customer pain point, a huge limitation of the existing e-commerce footwear ordering system that you have seen, and that is the birth of an idea. So most of the time, some of the pain points of an existing customer, if you work with your customer, you get ideas. Like, for example, if you have some, probably your younger ones at home studying, and many times you may find a major problem they face with respect to online studies. Suddenly that may be an idea. Like, some of your colleagues have designed that they've incubated here in CITTIC an online platform for meeting students and educators, tuition teachers, because many times it has come out of a customer pain point of locating good teachers for tuition, right? So and especially for home tuition. So a platform where teachers can register, students can register, and they make both of them meet, kind of. So many times the ideas are born from customer pain point. Many times ideas are modified versions of the existing product, and there is nothing wrong. For example, if you look at some of the best selling or best startups in India, very rarely they are very innovative, very new. Because as I said, though most of you said it has to be new and innovative, that many times it's a misunderstood way. A lot of people feel that my idea is nothing very great, or so I don't get started. Some people think that nobody in the world has thought about this, so it is going to be a sure shot winner. Both are not true. For example, if you look at something like, let's say, Flipkart. What is so new about Flipkart? It's a copied version of Amazon, right? These two friends worked with Amazon, and they got the idea from Amazon. They replicated it in India. That is all they did, right? Nothing more than that. But so nothing wrong. We all know, like, Oyo is a copied version of Airbnb, or your Ola is a copied version of Uber. But nothing wrong. They are all surviving. A slight improvements are made. We'll come to that, and that is good enough. But so if you are able to make some improvements over an existing product or a process or an existing business model, that is innovation, and that is good enough. That is good enough, right? But sometimes being the first in the world doesn't mean anything, right? For example, recently I met a professor from an engineering college chemistry department who told me that he has invented a new chemical compound. And so he's applying for patent and all that. So he wanted to check whether he can start a startup idea. So I was asking, what is the commercial potential? Who will be using that? But then he said, oh, the usage is very limited because it's not having much of applications. This product doesn't have much of applications, but it's a new product. As a chemistry scientist, I'm excited. I said, yes. But then from an innovative perspective, from a startup perspective, this is nothing exciting, right? Because the newness is only one part. Maybe the first time as a chemistry professor, you may be excited about getting a patent and all that, but from a commercial perspective, is nothing. Many of you may know that 95% of the patented products in the world are not commercialized at all. They could not be converted to startups. And 95% of the startups work on ideas which are not patented. So, innovation beyond a limit doesn't add a value with respect to an idea. So when you have your idea, there are the first thing that we ask you when you present your idea, the first thing that will ask you is, how is your idea different from an existing set? There will obviously be competitors. There are things that are already there. So how is your product different? There are only three ways you can actually make your product or your idea different from an existing set. One is that what is called the differentiation strategy, which basically means that you will be able to say, my product has better features. It is superior in quality, it is superior in specifications, it's superior in features compared to the existing product. So I have a premium image, and that is how I'm planning to sell. For a startup, it is not so easy to take a premium image straight away, because people may not accept a startup as something premium. But if you're able to pack a lot of features and on a fact basis, if you're able to show that this is really premium, then people accept. For example, we have again a Cusat-based startup, but now migrated to Maker Village, do extremely well there. They are into design of drones, airborne drones. They are designing for various applications. And they start off very small. People were not taking them seriously, but finally they are able to design a drone that carries more than 10 kg, which is not so common, because most of the drones that we find are able to carry small load. What they call the payload is very, very small. Let's say 2 kgs, 3 kgs and all. So once they made this claim, not many people believed, but then they went for testing, made a video on this and made it popular. And now they recently won an order from DRDO, India's most prestigious defense center. Now they are in advanced talk with Indian Navy for delivering some of these drones to them. So this is one way of looking at it, where they say it is costly, but we are premium. We offer something that is not there with other competitors. That's one way. But you have to really, do a lot of research on that. It is not so easy. The second option is cost strategy. You say that I'm not premium or anything. I don't claim much bigger features, but believe me, I'm much cheaper. The typical what we call the Chinese strategy, Chinese phone strategy. Some examples are. Indians are known for this, what they call the frugal innovation. Because we said our Chandrayaan is only 10% of what NASA spent, so we are good at that. But there are takers for this, because all of us know, like if you get a good product at let's say 30% of the existing cost, there are a lot of people willing to buy that. So is your idea able to generate something which is much cheaper than the existing product? That is called the cost strategy. The third option is that if you're not able to do both, are you able to offer something again different on other parameter? Like for example, when Flipkart came and taking on Amazon, they did not do, they could not compete with Amazon on many of these differentiation and cost parameters, because it's all the same. All the whatever products you have, they also have. Whatever discount you give, they also give. So they in Bangalore, they started off with what they call the same day delivery. And that was a huge hit at that point of time, because we all find, this is a big bottleneck, because whenever you order on Amazon, it takes at least a day or two, sometimes even a week for you to receive the item, which is a big hurdle. So when they were competing with faster deliveries, even now you find Swiggy versus Zomato, many times they compete on delivery time, because otherwise it's all the same. You order the same food from the same hotel, more or less the same rate. So where else can you compete? So I'm competing on delivery time, or contactless delivery, quality of delivery, some other parameter you pick. So we recently found a startup which is making LED bulbs. Again, same thing. And they could not offer anything in terms of differentiation of cost. So they were offering a straight away 5-year warranty on the bulb, which nobody does. Right? I don't know whether that was a very studied decision, but that is a huge take. People think that, okay, I buy a bulb and everyone gives you, year or two. They are giving 5-year warranty on a bulb. I will be very safe, and people will go and buy this. So there has to be something different in your offer, which is not there with your competitor. If that is there, your idea is innovative. Right? So don't worry about an earth-shaking idea which nobody in the world has thought about. No. That may not be anything good. That may be good for patenting, but not necessarily for startup or commercialization. Look at something that the market will accept, where you have added something extra to existing, either in terms of more features, or in terms of cost reduction, or in terms of some other parameter. You have a good idea. Just look around, read, think, focus on something, read, discuss with people, talk to customers, talk to experts. You need a lot of research to be done on this. None of these ideas are born in an hour or in a day's time. It is not like some movie scripts are prepared in the sets, people write and start shooting. It doesn't happen that way. Many times we find when we listen to startup ideas in CITTIC and in Maker Village, I am part of the screening committee member in Maker Village and Kerala Startup Mission. Many of them are underprepared, in the sense half-baked ideas. You just read about it somewhere, you just refer to one or two short stories, did 2 hour research on internet and just make up a plan. It doesn't work. It requires huge investment. I had one of my students who was talking about preparing carry bags from pineapple waste. Good idea. But then, when he made this presentation, he was confronted by a biotechnology expert who was asking a lot of questions. He is basically a mechanical engineer, but then he found that he hasn't done enough research on this part. And so he was exposed and he was not given permission to proceed. Right. So sometimes the lack of research, lack of willingness to go into details, to talk to people, many times you come. So this is something very important. Start up with an idea that will work, and that is something different from the existing scenario. That is about the idea part. The second is about the team. So many times people ask me, like, somebody was asking, what is there in it for mechanical engineers? What kind of startups can mechanical engineers do? I always believe that, these kind of rigid compartmentalized startups will never work. There is nothing like a startup for only mechanical engineers, computer engineers. So a big problem that we find with teams many times is that most of the startup teams that we talk about are homogeneous. Now, either you're only one person, which normally we don't entertain at all. None of the development agencies, Kerala Startup Mission and all, very rarely entertain a one-person startup, because it will not normally work. You need at least one more person to support you, to back up, when you are down, somebody has to take on and run. So ideal would be 3 to 5, right? That is ideal. 2 is the bare minimum. 3 to 4 would be maximum. I mean, ideal. 5 would be the maximum, not more than 5 also. And what kind of people? So a lot of people think that best 5 friends come together and start a startup, that would be good. No. Best friends normally make a good team, but they don't make a good startup. Why? Basically because best best friends are people who have everything in common. Right? They have more or less similar background. They all come from the same place. So more or less they have the same skills also. A startup will succeed when you have multidisciplinary skills brought into the team. So the best startups I have seen are probably startup which has an electronics engineer or a computer scientist in it. It's supposed to be hardware. You need an electronics guy and a mechanical engineer together. Electronics guy will take care of all your hardware design and all that, and you guys, the mechanical guy, will take care of the design of the product, right? The optimization and stuff like that, which is equally important, right? Or sometimes you may have an MBA also in the team who will take care of running around and making presentations and marketing, etc. Suppose it's a software product, you may have a computer science guy in the team who will write all your algorithms and software, right? Sometimes if you are good, you yourself is good in programming, you don't need a computer guy. Right? So always ensure that you work in teams, and you have, so wherever you don't have skills, you have your teammate contributing. So I always prefer that mechanical engineers should contribute in their domain, teaming up with others, because you are supposed to be better than other engineering graduates when it comes to design of the product, or automation and things like that, right? Or production optimization or inventory management. These are the areas where you are trained. Right? From everything from design of a battery to an air conditioning system, you have expertise. So team up with others and offer some solutions which will have a mix of the right technology and the domain applications. The next issue is what we call the business model, which is basically about how we make money. I'm not getting into each of that. This is again very important. You may have an idea, you may have a good team, you may have a good product, but if customers are not paying you, or if you haven't thought about how you generate money, it is very difficult. It is very difficult. So business model has become a very, very important aspect on which startups are judged now. Even the best of ideas, when you present, the funding agencies and the incubators will ask you, tell me how you make money. Earlier, people used to say that, no, I will develop an app which will thousands of or millions of people will download, and that will give me enough advertising revenue and all. It's fine. But they don't accept that I will survive. I can be a Google. Google doesn't charge anybody, but they make billions of dollars every year. True. But not everyone will accept the fact that he will also become a Google straight away. So they will expect you, if your product is good or if your service is good, they will expect that, why can't customers pay you? Why can't you charge the customer? Why should you give it free to the customer? Right? If your product is good, give it at a cost to the customer, take a small fee from them and survive. That is called the subscription-based model, transaction fee-based model. Correct. So that is one model, a different model. So you will have to look at, for example, there is something called a marketplace model, like the Amazon model. Like you have different people coming and registering themselves there. Like I was talking about the tuition model. You have students coming and registering. You have teachers coming and registering. One of your friends is running this startup there, and they take a small fee from both the teacher and the student, and that is their revenue, which is fine. Everybody is happy, right? Or you can have your aggregator model, more like something like an Uber or an Ola model, where I mean, you don't disclose the identity of the people. You just have, I mean, you are more like an aggregator. You have enough cars with you, people come and just book with you, and you provide them with a taxi. That is also fine. The OYO model, like you have so many hotels tied up with you, you guarantee that the quality is good. People do not know about those hotels, they trust OYO and book the hotel. So there the risk you take is much higher, but the profit you make is also much higher. Whereas in a marketplace model like Amazon, you are not taking much of a risk because you are just letting the people sell their product. If the product is not good, they will not complain about Amazon. They will only complain about Samsung, or they will complain about the company, and they will just return it. Amazon gets money either way, right? So that is another model. So the models are again very important. How you make money, you have to be very clear. Funding, again, the last but most important issue is about funding. Very, very crucial issues. When you start off, nobody is there to give you funds. So it is very important that when you start, you should have made enough arrangement to survive for at least 1 year. We will try to give you maximum support. For example, if you are in Cusat, we give you a place to sit and work in CITTIC at practically very, very nominal fees, right? And so that kind of support systems are made available. You get free consulting and mentoring. There are enough scholarships and grants which come your way, idea grant and mentorship programs. Make use of all this, but ensure that at least 1 year you are able to survive, because nothing will happen in the first 1 year. By that time, if you are able to come out with some prototype or some interesting product, at least the first version, showing that you can attract people to come and invest in you. They're called the angel investors. They will come and probably invest in you, or you can actually get some customers or crowdfunding or whatever. Money will start coming, and then you can steadily grow, and you go through a series of funding, what they call the VC funding. Getting into all that could be difficult, but I'm just making a list of funding options available to us. Bootstrapping is where you collect money from your own people, your friends, your family. Crowdfunding is a lot of different people coming and contributing. Angel investors and VC capital investment are professional investment made from outside. Then your bank loans available in zero interest rate or very liberal interest rates. Grants and scholarships available. Like, for example, in Cusat, we are giving away a lot of grants this time. Many of you are applied. So these kind of things happen. So again, the next are very general slides. I will not really go into that. All that I wanted to tell you here is that if you're looking at an entrepreneurship, we always say that the best time to get started with entrepreneurship, traditional entrepreneurship, is when you are 30 plus. You would have made some money and you invest and move on. But if you're worried about startups, the best time to get into it would be in your 20s, not in your 30s. Why? Because startups, as I told you, are completely different league altogether. Where the focus is more on right, less on other like entrepreneurship. So when you're in your 20s, you're a quick learner, you can take quick decisions, and probably some of the best startups in the world, as you can see in the list, are all started by people in their early 20s, even in their 18 and 19. So when we have a lot of startups in India also, many of these names are familiar to you, are all 20s and early 30s they started. Even there are women. I mean, I don't think mechanical engineering department has many women there, but that could be one of advantages to you, because you don't get distracted that way, so you can focus more on startups. Yeah. So now students, again, many of your students in the campus now. Why we promote student entrepreneurship in a big way? Cusat is the first university in the state to start a student entrepreneurship center. CITTIC is the first TBA, student TBA in the state, where we are encouraging students to come and start. Because very simple, nothing to lose and all to gain. Because when you are in your college, And when you try, as I told you, you may have to spend at least 1 year, invest at least 1 year into your startup for you to judge whether the startup is successful or not, whether it should go forward or not. But when you do that after you pass out, there is something called an opportunity cost. You are worried that, oh, I'm wasting my time. Family put pressure on you. They may ask you to go and work. You may find that many of your friends are already working and earning lakhs of rupees. So there's a lot of pressure. But when you are in the campus, none of the things worry you. Probably in the evening, afternoons, you come and work in CITTIC for 2-3 hours, right? And 1 year you will know whether you're able to come out with something different. And if you think it is very promising, you proceed. Some of many of your seniors who are there full time in CITTIC now, they are all the people who started in the camp. I mean, when they were in the second year or third year, and by the time they completed, they got enough confidence that they can be good startups and they're continuing with that. And some people are not able to continue. They said, it's not my cup of tea, they're closing. But even they are big gainers because they have learned a lot of things there. They have learned the best of technology. They have learned the best of networking skills. They have learned the best of soft skills, and all of them helped in they're getting some of the best placements. Again, you can check with your placement department. They will also tell you some of the best placements in the campus are cornered by SOE students who actually tried startups here. Because I mean, they are different. Companies also encourage people who are willing to experiment with startups. None of these companies want the traditional mode where the boss will tell you what to do and you do that. They all want you to be entrepreneurs inside the company. This is actually called intrapreneurship. This is also called, I mean, which is actually companies, encouraging in a big way. So that is why we encourage students to try out things without having the fear of losing out with very minimal investment. All that investing is your time there, and in that process you actually improve your skills and become more wanted by industry. So these are some of the sectors that we are doing good. Some of them have gone out of fashion now thanks to COVID, but some of them have re-emerged. Like for example, e-commerce, healthcare, and education are the top three sectors as of today. They have boomed like anything in the during the COVID days. Similarly, automation technologies, which do not require any personal touch, are in huge demand. Data analytics and some of the products which came out in the recent past, which are highly wanted, are all there. So I mean, so just to conclude now, these are the things. If you are looking at starting, just keep these things in mind. It is not a very quick decision that you take. A lot of learning or reading to happen before you decide. And you should talk to people, mentors, entrepreneurs to take advice. When you're in the campus, a lot of professors are available. Take a free consulting, work on your alumni. I mean, probably you can always try out your product on your classmates. So a lot of things, attend the competitions, conferences, etc. These are all the agencies which are available. Probably I can send across my slides to you. These are all agencies. You can go to their sites. A lot of schemes are open for students. Kerala Startup Mission has Student Idea Grant Scheme, Make Villages Niti Praya Scheme, Bayrak has again funding up to 50 lakhs. Many of your seniors have cornered that. Niti. These are all schemes which are available for startups. I mean, these are grants in the sense 100% free, right? They are only given to you free of course. Nothing to be returned. You can just experiment with your idea, collecting these grants. Right, so some of these are all some funds available now. With all, yeah.
So is food product considered as a? I mean, I'm about to take a food product.
Just give me a minute. I'm just concluding, and then I will take questions. Right. So last thing is on CITTIC, that is our own TBI. Like we have a technology business incubator in the campus, and where we hold a lot of facilities in terms of networking, physical space to sit and work. And another 3 months, we will be coming out with a hardware incubator in the student amenity center. We are furnishing that in the next 3 months, and that will have a lot of facilities for hardware startups, including fabrication lab is coming up there, right? So you're all welcome to use this thing. So my last slide, your time is limited. Don't waste it leaving somebody else's life. So that is the spirit of startup. So with that, I conclude. Thank you for listening to me. Now it is time for questions. Either you can ask me straight, or you can chat. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was asking something. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we can have listed from chat. I will call one by one from the chat. Please ask.
Please. Or you can read out also. Either way is fine.
Okay. If anybody have any questions, you can put in the chat, or I will give you a chance. Please comment on the chat. I will call you one by one. So Sandeep
I've
TS,
actually
you are
started
asking.
telling something.
Nabil, connect, please.
Yeah.
Sir, it's me, Nabil here. I'm a final year student of mechanical.
Okay.
Sir, I have a product. I mean, I am producing something like a coffee. It's
Okay.
an alternative for coffee.
Okay.
So I want to know about getting the startup support from CITTIC or Maker Village.
Yeah. So the first thing is, like, and as I said, none of these ideas are discussed or decided, in a small presentation or anything. All that you need to do is you will have to make a very detailed proposal on this, right? And then you will have to come and make a presentation. Correct. In CITTIC, our system is like once in a year we call for application. This year is just over. Now probably another 6 months will come out to the next call for a grand support and all. But in working in CITTIC, it is easier. You can at least get started in CITTIC. Somebody is also asking, can we submit our idea in CITTIC? Let me just tell you, CITTIC is always open to students. If you have a reasonably okay idea, I don't say the best idea, perfect idea and all that, a reasonably okay idea, we allow you to sit there and work and interact with the people around. In that process, I mean, all that we charge is just 250 rupees per month, which is nothing. Like, so 1 year you spend only 2,500 rupees for your admission to the whole CITTIC place, where you get a right to come participate in events and get to meet a lot of friends and interact and all that. So through that process, you improve your product, you improve your idea. And once you think that you reached a stage, you can take it to the next. We will actually let you know about funding schemes coming from Kerala Startup Mission and Mikre Village and all, where we have experts sitting and evaluating your idea. So all this case, as I was telling you, you should be able to research on this. For example, you said you have an alternative to coffee. Sounds very great, but then it requires some. You may have some biotechnologies coming and evaluating your this thing to ensure that you've done enough research. Especially food products, you need a lot of licensing, the stringent norms through which you have to go before you reach the market. So it's not like any other electronic gadget. Even if it fails, nothing happens. But any food items, the kind of risk people take. So government and agencies are very, very clear about the kind of very stringent norms. So if your idea, if your research has reached that. So also, one good thing I will suggest is that if you're starting on something like this, ensure that you have a food technologist or a biologist, biotechnologist supporting you or part of your team. You should ensure that at least somebody in that with that kind of expertise is your mentor. Otherwise, people will not take you seriously. I will tell
Sir,
you.
actually,
Yeah.
okay, sir. Actually, I have made the product and I've marketed the product and I'm doing a good business with it.
Oh, very good. Then it would be different.
And
So what I suggest is that, like, let's not discuss that over here, this forum. You can come and probably meet us in
okay,
CITTIC, and we'll discuss that there. Or you can send the details to me
okay,
by
sir.
email, and then we'll come and meet
I'll get in touch
personally
with
and
you.
we'll discuss. Yeah, that would be better.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Then how
We
does a
have a question from
crowdfunding?
Lola
Yeah.
Matthew. How does crowdfunding work with the shares of the company?
Yeah, see, crowdfunding, I will tell you, it's a little delicate thing, and it's not as popular as we think. It sounds a very good idea. You collect money from hundreds of people and do that. Now, the share distribution is not that simple. Normally, what they do is more like a prepaid orders. That is the way it works usually. Meaning, for example, I'm developing something. Let's say, like the previous your friend was saying, he has developed a product and is selling it. Now, it is more like a pre-booking kind of a scheme where you say that you give me 100 rupees now. The final price of the product will be 1,000. But if you give me 100 rupees now, I will guarantee a product for you. So that way you collect 100 rupees from, let's say, 1,000 people, and in that process you mobilize 1 lakh. With that you develop the product and give this product to all of them and usually settle it there. So it works more like a pre-booking. And in US, even dilution of shares are permitted. In India also, SEBI is also permitting to do that. But the norms, as far as I understand, the norms are yet to take place, because it is not so easy. First of all, when you are a startup, you may be too small a company to talk about shares and share distributions and all, which happens with public limited companies. So to what extent, you have a startup and there are a lot of people contributing 1,000, 10,000 rupees to you. How many shares will you give is little difficult. So the model that normally works would be more like a pre-booking of products or services that you're trying to develop, where they have preferential access to these products or services when they are developed. So they also become kind of partners to the whole development process, and they also get a chance to enjoy the benefits of this product. Either they get the product or probably a part of the profit share or something is promised. It's not exactly ownership is not exactly diluted. That is my understanding, the way it happens in India. Because crowdfunding is yet to evolve. It's just a new idea. A lot of legal hurdles are there. How can CITTIC help us to develop the skills to execute the idea? See, again, as I said, CITTIC is only a platform. I will tell you, when it comes to a startup, you are on your own. That is the whole idea about entrepreneurship, right? You are your boss. You don't want somebody to come and tell you what to do and what not to do. That is the only reason why you're setting up a startup. So please don't expect CITTIC to tell you what to do and what not to do. Then again, you are an employee of CITTIC. It doesn't happen. CITTIC is only a platform where you get to meet people. We have something around 40 startups connected with CITTIC, either virtually or physically. So we have a common WhatsApp group. So for example, suppose many startups, let's say you are in search for, I will without revealing names, I will tell you, we had a startup which was developing drones, and one member in that team is an excellent electronic designer. So when the COVID came, there is another startup which is actually into electronics, and basically, they were trying to look at this automated sanitizer dispenser, and this guy was asked to help. So he was offering his services for the design of this product, and together they developed this automated sanitizer, which you may find installed in in many places here. Now they already have more than 100 installations in different places. So this kind of collaborations happen. Or similarly, you want let's say machine learning expert in the startup group, you will easily find someone who is willing to help you. So these startups are all very flexible people who are willing to help each other without much of a problem. So they all work together. I may be part of this project here, and then maybe part of another project there. So that is the way. So it is an environment that the CITTIC presents to you. And that process also, you get to know about schemes offered by Kerala Startup Mission, Maker Village, or the grant schemes that we promote, etc., etc. So we are also expanding. CITTIC is also expanding slowly, and we are also trying to recruit some more people who can act as mentors in the near future. So those kind of services, next 6 months, we have made a lot of plans, like have a dedicated team of people who can mentor you, or freelance people who can support you with your finance requirement. Like, for example, somebody was asking about crowdfunding. You're making a panel of chartered accountants. We're making a panel of lawyers who can help you with the legal issues. So those kind of services will be made available to you from CITTIC.
Sir, we have a question from Manuel Robert. Sir, is it possible to use the service of CITTIC from Cusat students outside Cusat?
Yes. See, basically, I mean, the preference is very clear. The first preference is for the existing students of Cusat. The second preference would be for the alumni of Cusat, and the third preference would be for smart youngsters outside Cusat. Now, why we are we have the third preference for outside as of now is because we have very limited space now. We are sanctioned 10,000 square feet addition to CITTIC now under the new scheme called RUSA scheme. So we are expecting another 10,000 square feet to be added to CITTIC or Cusat TBA in the next 1 year time. So once that happens, you will have enough space to accommodate even outsiders without much of a problem.
Okay, sir. There is another question from Rahul NS. Sir, if we are having an idea, how will we start off at CITTIC? I mean,
Yeah,
is presentation
fine.
and
Yeah,
what
I'm
type?
reading that. I'm reading that question. I read that. Okay. So now it's simple. All that you do is you make a one-page write-up about your idea and mail it to us at cittic@cusat.ac.in. cittic@cusat.ac.in. So every month, normally the first week of the month, we have a presentation in front of a panel. So whichever ideas are submitted during the previous month, we usually call them for a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. Let's say 15 minutes to 30 minutes interaction with respect to these experts. So if the experts feel that there is some merit in this idea, and if you're from Cusat, straight away you're permitted to start working from CITTIC. You sign an agreement with an agreement form, which the staff there will help you with all that, and then you just sign that and start working. Simple. So the first step is make a one-page write-up and send it to us. Once, or you can even walk into CITTIC if you're inside the campus and give this write-up to the lady there, Mrs. Sindhu, who is taking care of the center. And she will schedule a presentation with the expert, and we'll move on from there.
Sir, another question is, how can we know if some other startup is started with the same idea?
Well, very difficult to know. Very difficult to know that. That the only option would be read. Keep reading, keep googling, as we always do. That is the only way. There is nothing like a repository of all startups in India. Is not there. Though there are many forums where a lot of startups present their ideas. But again, I will tell you, many times don't worry too much about the idea being copied. Because I'm not, as I told you earlier, I'm not really worried about that. Even if somebody else is working on an idea. For example, how many startups are working on this automated, sanitizer disposer now? You find them everywhere. Anywhere you go, you have automated sensor-based, right, sanitizer disposer. But not everybody is selling. A lot of people can develop that, but you are probably good in selling them. Somebody is able to make it fast to the market. Somebody is able to make 1,000 rupees reduction. Idea is only one part of it, as I told you, out of those 5 components, right? How good are you in designing it properly? How good are you in reducing the cost? How good are you in marketing? A lot of things happen. So that is what I told you. Like, there are how many e-commerce players are there, but we normally buy only from Amazon and Flipkart. There is no difference. There are so many others also, right? There are at least a dozen of them operating in India. They have the same idea, but they are not able to execute those ideas properly. They are not successful. So don't worry too much about it. But it is always good that you regularly visit many of the Kerala Startup Mission or Startup Government of India website to check whether somebody is talking about a very similar idea. But there is nothing like, unless it is a patented idea, you can always work on somebody else's idea. There is nothing like I'm started working on that. Don't touch it. Like, it is not there. Because recently we came across at least 5 startup proposals working on currency note disinfector, where they are looking at a small gadgets to be added to a currency counter in banks, where each note as the account will also get disinfected. That we said it's all fine. You can all start. Whoever comes the product first to the market and succeed, it's more like a race. Anybody can run. So don't worry.
Roshanabi is asking, do we get funding for the project from CITTIC?
As of now, no. Funding CITTIC, we see, again, you should understand, the university center, we have funding support only from the center. But recently, I should say that we got funding support from RUSA, government agency, against which we have called for applications. 54 startups had applied. We are shortlisting them. We have made the presentations to experts last week, and there's kind of shortlisting is being done. That process is over now. Some of you also may be there. We are trying to fund at least 10 to 15 startups selected from that 54, right? And probably after 6 months, we may come out with the next call if the funding comes again. But we link you to Maker Village, who have a scheme called Niti Prayas, which is operated every year. We link you to Kerala Startup Mission, who have this funding support as of now every year, once in a year. So these are some of the schemes which are available. In CITTIC, we many times get you connected to these kind of funding agencies, and that will also help. And you also meet a lot of people, startups, your friends in CITTIC, who will share with you the kind of opportunities available. So that is how you benefit from an ecosystem.
Sir, Chandravi is asking, sir, if I have an idea and I require a good software developer to execute it, can CITTIC help me?
Yeah, definitely. So this is what I tell you. You just post your requirement, and I'm sure somebody from CITTIC will raise their hand and say that, okay, I can help you. We have done that for many startups, not in Cusat alone, even outside. Somebody said I wanted someone with a good expertise in this. I just posted there, and somebody will. As I told you, startups are all willing to help each other. Sometimes free, sometimes for a fee. So that you negotiate and finalize. Those kind of things will definitely help. Even if it is outside CITTIC, going to a department, we have arranged marketing interns for startups from my department, School of Management Studies. Somebody who can do a small marketing projects. We have done that.
Okay, Kurula Matthew is asking, what is your opinion about disposing company share for advertisement?
Again, yes, I understand what you mean. See, there is no single yes or no to it. Dilution of ownership is something, as I told you, when it comes to funding, the first option is always grants, where no commitment. But that is given only by government and government agencies. Government will give you money free, of course. Startup Mission, Maker Village, CITTIC, and no shares are exchanged in return. Safe. Other option is bank loan, where again you don't have to give your shares, but then the risk is that bank loans will have to be repaid. See, if you don't repay, they may have legal proceedings and all, which is a little risky. So third option is that you collect money by diluting your share. You sell part of your ownership to somebody and then buy. So when it comes to that, there are many ways. So one is you give it to some individuals or agencies, but then you may have a feeling, suppose tomorrow they come and dictate things to me, what will I do? Another option is like, this is popularized by Times of India, where they say that, I will pick up, let's say 10% or 20% shares ownership of your company. In return, I will not give you money, but I will give you a full page advertisement. So that again depends. Do you need that advertisement, right? Suppose it is what we call a B2C kind of a product, which you are trying to market to customers. Let's say something like Byju's app, software for youngster kids to learn. You need advertisement because people need to know, right? In that case, you need that kind of advertisement. Suppose it is more like a business to business, like in a learning management software where school management can use it for tracking progress of the students. You may not need a full page advertisement. Best strategy would be go and meet and make demos to all school principals or management. You may not need that. In that case, you may say, I will not take it up. So it depends on the product. It depends on at what stage are you in. Because remember, if you make an advertisement, the next day calls will come to you and you may have to go and show your product. You cannot say that, no, my product is only under development. I just advertised since I got this key. It is all gone. So once you have reached that stage where product is ready for sale and you want mass, customers to come to you, and then you may say that, okay, I'm willing to do this share given in exchange of advertisements. Till that time, you don't. When is the next day to submit? I told you anytime you can come and do that. Day before yesterday, we had a screening. Two teams had come. Now you submit probably next month, September first week. You may have the next round of screening. Anytime you can do that. Again, next question is, if I disclose my idea, will another person try to start? I think I answered that already. Anybody can try that. But again, see, if you think you have something so special, you go for patent. You can go for a patent. Patent is where you legally protect your idea, so nobody can copy. If it is not patentable, of course, it is whoever comes to market first, whoever comes better in the market wins. There's nothing more you can do about it. Anything more? I think we exhausted the questions.
Yes, sir. I think we are almost completed the questions.
Fine. Again, I will tell you, don't worry. You can share my number. Anytime you can call me or WhatsApp me and come to CITTIC. I know now physically you may not be able to come and all that, but whenever you're free or when you're all back in the campus, feel free to come and visit us in CITTIC, and I can have a personal audience with you if you want to discuss something. Yeah, my number, emails are all there with the coordinators, so you can collect it from them. That should be fine. No problem.
Yes, sir. Of course. If anybody needs any kind of help, you can contact us. We will, of course, share the details of.
Yeah.
I think no more questions now. So I invite Srilashmi to share word of thanks. Srilashmi, can you hear?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So on behalf of Mesac, I extend a very hearty word of thanks to Dr. Sam Thomas, who spared his time from his busiest schedule to grace us with this occasion. So your thoughts have brought us about a new insight on the startup ideas, about how just the project idea is not enough, how we have to put a lot of effort to bring about a startup. Thank you, sir, for this enlightening ideas about startup. I also would like to thank Dr. Biju sir, our coordinator of Mesac, who has shown us the utmost support in all our endeavors. And last but not the least, I would also like to thank the participants for their active participation in this webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you all, and all the very best. Hope to see at least some of you as my incubators in CITTIC in near future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we shall wind up now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wind up. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.